welcome to the deep dive. So you're looking to seriously upgrade your photography skills, maybe turning that casual interest into real mastery, or perhaps finding a profitable career path. Well, the moment you start looking online, you're just hit by this wave of options. It's kind of overwhelming. When we started digging into this, we found one major course site, just one, listing over 1,900 different photography classes.
1900, yeah, it's a lot. And that's precisely why we're here today. Our mission for this deep dive is to help you cut through that sheer volume. We've sifted through tons of resources to show you what we think are the most effective paths to really getting good. First, understanding which online courses genuinely deliver those crucial foundational skills. And second, exploring something pretty exciting, how new technologies, specifically augmented reality, are actually changing how we learn hands-on subjects, like using a complicated camera.
Absolutely. We're basically giving you the shortcut here. You need to be well-informed. Our deep dive shows that success really boils down to mastering two key things. Getting those fundamentals rock solid, and then choosing your specialization strategically. We want you to walk away understanding not just what you need to learn, but maybe which way of learning will give you that practical confidence to actually use the knowledge.
Right. And we have to start at the very beginning because every single source we looked at agrees on this. Before you even think about specialized gear or fancy techniques, you must master the basics. And that really means getting a strong handle on four key areas.
Right.
Your equipment, how light works, composition, and of course, editing.
Okay, so fundamentals first. When it comes to those big, comprehensive online courses for beginners, who are the heavy hitters, our research seemed to point to a couple of major master classes that keep popping up.
Yeah, two really stand out, but they're quite different in scale. The one that gets called out a lot as the best overall for covering all the basics is the Photography Masterclass by Chris Parker. It's designed as let's say a well-curated 28-hour journey specifically for beginners. Parker's got decades of pro experience, and he really focuses on exposure, composition, and the basics of editing. And he covers Photoshop, Lightroom, and even GIMP.
Oh, wait, GIMP. Can we just pause on that for a sec? Because maybe not everyone listening knows GIMP, especially if they only know the Adobe stuff. What is it?
Ah, good call. Yeah, GIMP stands for GNU Image Manipulation Program. And mentioning it is important because GIMP is this really powerful, free, open source alternative to Photoshop. So the fact that Parker's course, which gets great ratings, like 4.6 out of 5, includes GIMP, well, it shows a commitment to making good editing skills accessible, even if you don't have the budget for expensive software.
That makes sense. So that 28-hour course sounds pretty focused, like quality over sheer quantity. How does that compare to the big one, the bestseller? That's Udemy's Photography Masterclass, a complete guide to photography, right?
Right. And that one, it's a whole different animal. It clocks in at a massive 72 hours of content. It's taught by 3 different experts, and the enrollment numbers are huge, nearly 400,000 learners. And its rating is actually slightly higher, 4.7 out of 5.
Wow, 72 hours. That's a serious commitment. Is that length a strength, you think? Like, does it offer incredible detail, or could it be a bit much, maybe repetition or info overload for a total beginner?
That's a really fair question. 72 hours, yeah, it might be overkill if all you want is to take slightly better photos of your family or, on vacation. But the reason it's so popular, I think, is its sheer breadth, its scope. This course doesn't just cover the basics like camera mechanics and manual settings. It immediately branches out into all these different scenarios. Family photos, yes, but also landscape, aerial, product shots, wildlife. Ah, okay, so the 28-hour one gives you the solid foundation.
Exactly. And the 72-hour one gives you that same foundation plus a taste of maybe half a dozen potential career directions. It's more exploratory, perhaps.
That's a really useful distinction. Okay, so regardless of which big course someone might choose, or even if they pick something smaller, the real test of mastering those fundamentals comes down to the nitty-gritty technical stuff, doesn't it?
Precisely. If you genuinely want to get off that auto setting on your camera and truly control how your photos look and feel, you absolutely have to master what everyone calls the exposure triangle. That means really understanding the relationship between 3 things: ISO, aperture, and shutter speed.
Okay, let's break that down quickly for anyone listening who needs a little refresher. The exposure triangle.
Yeah.
What are we actually controlling with those 3 settings? Right. Think of them as the 3 main ways you control light hitting your camera's sensor. So shutter speed controls motion. It's about how long the sensor is exposed to light. A fast shutter speed freezes action, think hummingbird's wings. A slow shutter speed creates blur, like smooth waterfalls or light trails from cars. Then you've got aperture. This controls the depth of field, how much of your picture is in focus, and also how much light gets in through the lens opening. It's literally the size of the hole the light comes through.
Right, so a wide aperture like f1.8 gives you that nice blurry background for portraits.
Exactly. And a narrow aperture, like f16, keeps pretty much everything sharp, which is great for landscapes.
And the third corner of the triangle is ISO.
Yep. ISO is basically your camera sensor's sensitivity to light. If you're shooting in the dark, you might need to crank up the ISO to get a bright enough picture. But there's a trade-off. Higher ISO usually introduces more noise or graininess into the image. So mastering the exposure triangle is all about learning how to balance these three: shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, to get an image that's correctly exposed and looks the way you want it to look aesthetically. It's make or break, really.
Absolutely fundamental. Now, we also found some great options for people who maybe already have the gear, like a DSLR camera that's digital single lens reflex, but just need to quickly figure out all those buttons and dials, shorter courses.
Yes, exactly. Justin Bridges have a couple of short courses on Skillshare that are perfect for this. They're only about 2 to 4 hours long each, and they're laser focused on understanding your DSLR body, getting that exposure triangle balance, and then understanding lenses, specifically focal length.
And focal length is just about how zoomed in the lens is, basically, affecting the angle of view and magnification.
Pretty much. It's the distance from the lens's optical center to the sensor. Knowing how, say, a wide 24-millimeter lens makes things look versus a zoomed-in 200-millimeter lens is crucial for different kinds of shots, like portraits versus street photography. Bridges covers that well.
Okay, that makes sense. So once a learner feels comfortable with these fundamentals, the triangle, the gear, the lenses, what's the next logical step, especially for someone who's ambitious?
Well, for most photographers looking to get serious, the next step is specialization. Choosing a niche. And this is really where the training focus shifts from how do I take a decent photo to how can I build a style or maybe even a career.
Right, and this is where things get really exciting, isn't it? The sheer variety of specialized courses out there is huge. We saw courses dedicated to pretty much everything: weddings, portraits, commercial work, food photography. But maybe let's highlight a few specific genres that are popular.
Sure. For anyone drawn to mountains, forests, the great outdoors, Sean Dalton's Skillshare course on landscape photography comes highly recommended. It's only about 2 hours, but it's very practical. Covers finding locations, the right gear, composition tricks, and even specific techniques for shooting at those, magical times like sunrise, sunset, and the blue hour just after sunset.
Nice. And what about for city lovers? People who prefer skyscrapers to mountains.
For them, Andrew Moore's course on Domestica, focusing on cityscapes, looks great. It's a bit longer, maybe 2 or 3 hours, and it really dives into crafting architectural narratives, using composition, perspective, color, and light to tell a story with buildings and urban scenes.
Turning a building into a story. I like that.
Yeah. And then you have the really technical niches. We found Ian Norman offers an advanced free course on YouTube covering nightscapes. That's things like astrophotography, capturing the Milky Way, and detailed night landscape images. That requires some serious know-how about long exposures and working in very low light.
And these specializations, these niches, that's often where the real career opportunities lie, isn't it? But what's the common thread that links almost all high-end specialized photography?
Editing, post-processing, absolutely crucial.
Yeah, that came through loud and clear. As you move towards specialization, the importance of editing just skyrockets.
It really does. Multiple sources pointed out that for professional photographers, actually taking the picture is, well, maybe only half the job, sometimes less.
We even saw that top programs like the syllabus from NYU's Tisch School explicitly require students to master Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop. It's not just suggested, it's presented as a core requirement for professional work.
Exactly. Advanced editing skills, things like sophisticated color correction, detailed retouching, working with layers and masks in Photoshop, these are basically your ticket to being competitive in the professional market. That's why you see almost every specialized course, whether it's for weddings or products, including at least a crash course in Lightroom or Photoshop or both.
And making that strategic investment in time and learning, going from just understanding the basics to mastering a niche and the editing that goes with it that can lead to significant financial rewards, can't it? We saw some pretty wide salary ranges.
Oh, definitely. The range is huge. Our research confirmed that while someone just starting out or maybe doing more general photography might be looking at something in the, say, $20,000 to $40,000 a year range, those experienced, highly specialized photographers, the top-tier wedding photographers, commercial shooters, architectural specialists, they can command salaries well into six figures.
Sure.
$100,000, even $200,000 or more per year isn't uncommon for the best in high-demand fields.
So that specialization, combined with really top-notch editing skills, that seems to be the bridge to the higher income levels.
It really does seem that way. It's about offering a refined, specific product.
Now, for listeners who might want that kind of professional level training and structure, but maybe
hmm
aren't ready for or don't want a full university degree program, there are also these multi-course specializations offered online, right?
Yes, that's another great pathway. We looked at the Michigan State University Photography Basics and Beyond specialization available on Coursera. It's a really solid example. It's structured as a series of 5 courses. They estimate it takes about 3 months to complete if you put in around 10 hours a week. And importantly, it wraps up with a capstone project. So you actually create something substantial to show for your learning, something you could put in a portfolio.
And they had a pretty interesting perk too, didn't they? Something about equipment discounts.
They did. That's a nice practical touch. If you complete the entire specialization, you apparently get access to significant discounts on gear, accessories, and even memberships from industry partners like LensBaby and Think Tank Photo.
That could be a really valuable bonus, especially if you're just starting to build your professional kit and need to buy, expensive lenses or bags.
Definitely a smart incentive. Okay, so we've talked about the path from basics to specialization, the importance of editing, the career potential, and the complex gear involved. And this brings us neatly to a really interesting point about online learning itself, a challenge it's always faced.
Right. This feels like a crucial shift in the conversation. We've established that online courses are fantastic for learning theory, concepts, even software like Photoshop. But MOOCs, those massive open online courses, they've historically struggled a bit when it comes to teaching practical skills. Things that require hands-on practice, like lab work, or properly handling a complex piece of equipment, like a camera.
Exactly. You can watch 100 videos about how a camera works, about all the buttons and dials, but it's not the same as actually holding it, feeling the weight, practicing the movements. There's often a gap between watching and doing.
A confidence gap, maybe?
Precisely. A gap in practical readiness. And that's what makes this particular study we found, by Kalia Parimal and Vijaya Kumar, so relevant and potentially game-changing. They specifically targeted this problem. Their research looked at replacing a standard instructional video in a digital photography MOOC one focused just on identifying camera parts and basic handling with an augmented reality experience instead.
Okay, augmented reality, AR. So how did they set that up? What did the students actually do differently in the AR group?
It was quite clever. They took 33 multimedia students. First, everyone watched the normal MOOC video lesson on camera parts and handling just a standard 2D video. Then they gave feedback on how confident they felt, how well they understood it. Then, crucially, those same students experienced the exact same content, same information about the camera parts. But this time, it was delivered using an AR app on a smartphone.
And this AR app, it projected a 3D model of the camera into their real environment. Is that how it works?
Yes, basically. The app used a marker placed on a desk, and when viewed through the phone's camera, it rendered a detailed, interactive 3D model of the camera right there on the marker. So students could walk around it, zoom in, view it from absolutely any angle, manipulate it virtually using their phone. It wasn't just passive watching, it was active exploration.
Okay, that definitely sounds more engaging than just watching a video. But did that engagement actually translate into better learning outcomes or more confidence? Did it make a real difference?
According to their results, yes. A significant difference. They measured student feedback scores before and after, and they found a statistically significant increase in 2 key areas after the AR interaction compared to just the video. First, the students' self-rated concentration level, their ability to actually focus on the material. The mean score went up from 4.0 after the video to 4.36 after using the AR app.
Interesting. So actively playing with the virtual camera held their attention better than just watching someone talk about it on the screen. Makes sense.
But here's the really powerful finding, I think. Their self-rated confidence level. This was about how ready they felt to actually handle and operate a real camera in a hands-on lab session later. After just watching the video, the average confidence score was 3.72. After interacting with the AR model, it jumped to 4.24.
Wow. Okay, that's a substantial jump.
Mhm.
So interacting with a virtual camera made them feel significantly more confident about handling the real thing later on.
Exactly, and that's the so what here. This suggests that AR isn't just a gimmick, it can be a highly effective tool for boosting learner confidence and preparation, especially for subjects that require manipulating physical objects.
So for you, the listener, thinking about maybe tackling that complex camera or a challenging technique you saw in a 72-hour course,
Yeah.
this AR approach could be the future of how you bridge that gap between watching and doing.
It really points in that direction. It suggests a viable way for MOOCs and online platforms to more effectively teach these practice-based subjects, things that have always been a bit tricky to do well remotely. Think mechanics, medical training, lab sciences, and yes, definitely photography.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. We've gone from the overwhelming number of course options through nailing the fundamentals like the exposure triangle, exploring niches, understanding the critical role of editing, and now looking at how technology like AR might change how we learn practical skills online. So whether you're just starting out and thinking about maybe a short, focused 2-hour course on shooting landscapes at sunset, or you're ready to commit to that huge 72-hour masterclass,
Yeah.
it seems the path to photography mastery is definitely out there online, and it's constantly evolving.
Absolutely. And maybe the core takeaway woven through all of this is the power of interaction in learning, especially for practical skills. That study really highlights it. Students felt much more prepared, more confident after manipulating a virtual 3D camera with AR than they did after just passively watching a 2D video about it.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to toe on. If the key to really feeling confident with complex, maybe expensive physical equipment lies less in watching videos and more in this kind of immersive digital interaction,
Yeah.
how quickly do you think AR technology might start replacing traditional instruction videos across all kinds of practical hands-on subjects?
Yeah, think beyond cameras. What about learning to fix your bike? Or understand a car engine? Or even, I don't know, complex cooking techniques? What's the one piece of equipment or the one hands-on skill in your life that you'd love to explore first using an interactive AR tutorial instead of just a YouTube video?
Something to definitely think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.